A Bedslinger so large that maybe, just maybe, your mother might fit on it. We're going to be taking a look at the Bambu A2L, and yes, this is the first time you're seeing a video of it. Let's get into it. Bambu's apparently deciding that instead of actually fixing their old machines, it's just better to distract everybody by releasing a brand new machine, because the company that said bedslingers are dead clearly believes that bedslingers aren't in fact dead. Let's take a look at some documents that we got from an undisclosed source on the Bambu A2L. Starting off, it looks like, outside of what your mother may actually call me, the bedslinger, it just appears to be, well, the same thing that your mother might call me. Bigger than the last one. That's all they've done here. It's just bigger. But okay, it's not just bigger. There's some more features with the A2L and some really odd features that I gotta know from you all what you're thinking here, because I'm a little confused. We've got a 330 by 320 by 325, because apparently, once again, we can't be arsed to use a standard that already exists for build plates, but hey, bigger does equal better in a lot of cases for 3D printing. I know a lot of you out there just want to make bigger stuff, and this example here of the definitely not a Minecraft sword, it makes sense, right? This is clearly for the hobbyist, because there's one big feature that I'm still confused as to why Bambu did it. I'm okay with this. A slightly larger machine, no major issue, all things considered. It will have upgrades. These upgrades will involve decal cutting, pen drawing, and apparently an alignment system via a smartphone. So first off, decal cutting, pen drawing on a big machine like this, 10 out of 10. Absolutely love to see it, because you're capturing the market that you realistically, I think, missed on the H2D, which the H2D could have the pen, could have a drag knife, could even have a laser. The problem is it's not easily accessible. It's a pain in the ass to get all that stuff out, and quite frankly, you should never have a laser on a 3D printer. That's just dumb. But a pen drawing or a Sharpie or whatever, I wish more manufacturers would do something like this, because ultimately, it's not actually that hard to do. And I think it would breathe a lot of life, especially into older machines that tend to sit and collect dust because you don't have anything else that fits there, and you don't want to actually move the shelf because there are things under it that would also have to get moved, and it becomes a whole problem. Anyways, the alignment by smartphone, though, is something that I'm really curious about, because what it's likely doing is it's using fiducials with your cell phone's camera, but that means it also has to calibrate your cell phone's camera for the machine itself. That does require you to use an app, and it requires you to do a lot of extra work with keeping it connected to the internet, which, as you know here, we're not a huge fan of, and we actually just showed you how to use that Orca fork that Pavel came up with in a recent video. We'll card to it so you guys can take a look. But this machine is more than just these few options. They've done something that I haven't really seen other companies do. Bambu has put a mass dampener on their machine. It's a granular damper to reduce ringing. So they've just filled it full of what is likely, hopefully, steel BBs. Adding mass, especially stuff that is able to move around a little bit and handle vibrations, is really valuable. While this is a non-active system, it's a passive system, in theory, it should actually help something. Now, saying active vibration compensation, that's input shaping. You guys have had that for a long time. That's nothing new. We can see a new one. I always laugh because they're going, I promise you they're going to use the UL logo on their packaging, but it's just UL Green Guard, which is like the easiest UL to get through. In fact, Prusa did it. It does not, like, it even says, confirms ultra low emissions, making the A2L safe for indoor use. Maybe for emissions, and it's only going to be with Bambu's own materials. I'm glad that somebody else is actually kind of dealing with this, but it's just Green Guard. This has nothing to do with safety, because they're saying that it's home safe, but we have more than enough evidence to show that its predecessor, the A1, is anything but home safe. And of course, being that it's Bambu, they've got all their smart print monitoring in there for filament grinding, air printing, nozzle clumping, the normal stuff that we expect from Bambu Lab with their machines at this point. But it's when we get to the specs that things start to get a little bit weird for me. The 330 by 320 by 325, I don't understand the non-square build volume. I assume they built the frame, then they saw that this was the size they could get. Although this is also the size of the H2D build plate, H2S, and H2C. So in theory, it can use the same build plates. But this is what is curious to me. 80 degrees Celsius max heat bed temperature. So you would think that if they were going to use the same print bed size that's on the H series, that they would also just use the same heater that was on the H series, but that doesn't seem to be the case, or they're simply just limiting it to a lower temperature. I understand that, though, because from a technical standpoint, a Bedslinger going above 80 at this size is really just going to create a headache for you when it comes to supporting it, because people are going to try to print ABS on it, and it's just not going to work well. I don't care if the bed can get to 100, it's not going to work well. So you might get angry at this, but I think for their target audience, PLA, PETG, PCTG, this is perfect. 80 degrees Celsius. It would have been nice to see 90 so I can go to 85, but I will take 80 with the right build plates. I think that it will be fine. And Bambu build plates, historically, they've been fine. And I'm sure that Big Tree Tech will have something else soon. What is curious to me is that for the first time in a while, there is a high voltage and low voltage version that are the same wattage. The fun thing with the X1 Carbon, which is like the only Bambu that we have here that is functioning, we have Bambus here from people that are broken, that's a whole nother story, is that it would heat up like 3 times plus as fast in 240 volt countries because it can draw more current. They have 2 different versions. Now, my concern here is that if you decide to move from one country to another that might go from a 110 to a 240 volt, we might have issues with compatibility. I have communication for Wi-Fi and Bambu bus. I don't know what that bus looks like, but I asked AI and this is what it made. We can see for the cutting and drawing areas, they are slightly limited comparatively. It's a 300 millimeter cube cutting area, which I still think is quite good. I'm expecting this machine to be somewhere in like the $500 to $600 range, with the accessories costing just a little bit extra. And the drawing area at 300 by 255 makes sense, because again, the pen has to stick out a little bit. With the supported pen diameters being 10.5 to 12.5 millimeters, I thoroughly expect that to be something that is modified by the community to allow things like Sharpies all the way down to the finest of fine tip pens. And yes, these are modular add-ons. I like this from Bambu. In fact, I wish they would push it more on their H2D. I feel like they've kind of abandoned that side of the H2D. I wish they would push more that it can do that, because it is a nice hobby machine that's fully enclosed. This one is going to be the, I don't want to spend H2D money, but I want a machine that can do multiple things. Traditionally, we would say, don't get a machine that can do multiple things. It's going to do them all poorly. But Bambu's track record, it's likely going to 3D print just fine. As long as it doesn't have this same AC board in it, it's unlikely to catch fire. We'll see how well that actually ages. But a pen plotter and a cutter, those don't actually require a lot of precision realistically. And I think those are more than fine to add to any 3D printer. I love their multicolor printing, reliably and all of that, and how they say their machine doesn't have any of these issues, but we can clearly see a ghosting line. We can clearly see some issues with their purging volume here on the cockatiel. I laugh a little bit because like this is their actual marketing. This is the 1-pager, even though it's 2 pages, but I care not to get into it. I appreciate that, you know, they're continuing with this autopilot and things like that. But of course, as you all know, I'm not a huge fan of all of those extra cameras looking into my house, and especially with an open frame 3D printer, you need to be careful of where these cameras are pointed. If you're the kind of person that doesn't want somebody else watching the camera on your 3D printer, just point it in a direction that doesn't make sense, or just cover it. Their supported filament types are quite a bit smaller than other Bambu machines. PLA, PETG, TPU, PVA, PVA being your soluble support, and with a hardened steel nozzle, the PLA CF and PETG CF. Again, I think that is more than enough for their average customer base that just wants this to make models for themselves, for their kids, maybe for a craft fair. This is likely going to hit the nail on the head quite well for Bambu, but I don't want people to forget the fact that there is an active investigation for these boards catching fire, and there are active investigations into Bambu for not only legally threatening somebody for utilizing open source, but them themselves actually violating open source. Do not forget that about Bambu. If we look further into their marketing, we can see their comparison systems. The Bambu A2L versus the A1, the P1S, the P2S, the X2D, and the H2S. And we should point out, the P1S is end of life, so I don't actually think it's all that realistic to have this in the comparison chart, but you know, hey, that's fine. I think it's a very fair comparison chart for whatever that might be worth. We can see their max build plate temperature is the lowest in any of the lineup by at least 20 degrees Celsius. No active heated chamber because, of course, it is an open machine. And this gives us a bit of a better side profile to see that there are some vertical stabilizers on the machine as well. It inherits the filament grinding detection from the P2S, the H2D, and the H2S, which is nice to see. It's good to have that kind of thing. And we can see their live view camera is going to be roughly the same that you expect from the Bambu A1, but hilariously, it doesn't have AI detection, even though they say it does. So does it have AI detection or not? They say the max number of colors and materials are 19. I'm kind of lost at exactly how that is. 19 is more than the 16 that we would expect. What do you guys think? Where are those extra 3 coming from? But I think overall it should surprise nobody that we don't actually have an A2L here in the shop. If we did, we would be, you know, stuck under an embargo. We wouldn't be able to share this with you all early here on the channel. So if you did like this kind of thing, leave a like on the video. I think it's a cool machine. I'll be curious to see its price point. Given Bambu's aggressive pricing strategy, I would expect it to come out on its own without an AMS for like maybe the $450 to $475 range, maybe the $499 to $550 with the AMS. And I'm still curious as to where we're getting those 3 extra materials from, because it is a single nozzle machine. So unless we're somehow considering like paper, vinyl, and drawing on stuff 3 addeds, who knows? What is your opinion on the A2L? I want to get one in so that we can tear it down and see what's inside of it. We want to see if Bambu actually learned their lesson, or if they're shipping allegedly house fires to users. That's why I own a thermal camera. Let me guys know if you want us to take a look at it, and if you do want to support those efforts, you know, a little extra couple of bucks over on that old Patreon at the $10 tier, and how you get to come hang out with myself and all the other Musketeers and our awesome fans over on our Discord, and you get your name in lights like those listed right next to me at that $5 tier and higher. Thank you all for supporting us in these efforts and supporting us in actually doing this early. We were gonna wait, but we don't have to wait. It's the great thing about this world. We're already blacklisted. What are they going to do? Blacklist us again? That is all we have for you all today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. Again, what do you think of this brand new machine? And as always, keep making awesome. Maybe keep a fire extinguisher handy, just in case. See you later.